Good morning. My name's John Gilkison, and this morning I'm going to try to do my PowerPoint presentation in the full expanded version where I go through all the bullet points. It's probably going to take more than one session because I'm limited to 15 minutes. But if it takes 2 or 3, we're just going to try to plow through the whole thing, and I'll try to upload them as I go along. So here we go. I'm going to pause it here, and then we're going to start out with the PowerPoint presentation on the quiet revolution. So here we are. Let's see if I can get a little closer here. This is the first slide, the quiet revolution, how electric vehicles are poised to take over the marketplace, and why EV or electric vehicles are our best choice for the future. And I thought a definition of terms would be useful here. ICE stands for internal combustion engine, aka fossil car. BEV or BEV is a battery electric vehicle or an EV. PHEV is a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. BSFC is brake specific fuel consumption, and that's always rated in pounds of fuel per horsepower hour or pounds of fuel equivalent. We'll get to that later. Horsepower hour. The horsepower hour is 746 watt hours. A BTU is a British thermal unit. It's the heat required to raise 1 pound of water 1 degree Fahrenheit. And a mile per gallon, of course we're all familiar with. Mile per gallon dash E is miles per gallon equivalent, which in electric vehicles, of course, is 32.777 kilowatt hours, which is the amount of energy that's in a gallon of gas. This is a picture of a Tesla Model 3 just before we took it for a ride yesterday. This is just one beautiful car. I got to drive it, and I was just amazed. I didn't think I could get any more amazed, but this vehicle's really something. Model 3 long-range battery specs for this particular vehicle. We test drove 75 kilowatt hour battery pack, 310 miles of range, 0 to 60 time 5.1 seconds, top speed 140 miles per hour, curb weight 3,814 pounds, and this is a good, really amazing figure here. Is coefficient of drag 0.23. Had tinted glass roof with infrared and UV coatings. Supercharging rate 170 miles in 30 minutes. And the price of the vehicle as shown as we test drove was $57,500. So there's a picture of it again when we were done with our ride. Right here is my wife in the background, Lana Gilkison. So this is me driving my first electric vehicle in 2010. Where I worked at Central Utility Plant on New Mexico State University campus. We had these little campus runabouts. Up to that time they'd been gasoline powered Gators and the like, and they got an electric version of it. If this was your only impression of an electric vehicle, it wouldn't be a good one, although I have to say in its defense that they were superior to the gasoline versions for driving on campus. I don't think they do over 25 miles an hour, fortunately. For those of you who don't think of electric cars as high performance vehicles, here's an electric Mustang that's made out of a shop in near Austin, Texas. It's called the Zombie 222, and we're showing it here peeling rubber. I think it has over 750 horsepower and over 1,000 foot-pounds of torque. These vehicles will routinely, as Teslas do, routinely outrun gasoline cars at the drag strips. So, education. Most drivers do not know the fundamental physical units that define the efficiencies of cars and trucks. Most of them think they know what a horsepower is, but they really don't. Most don't know what a horsepower hour is or what torque really is. And most of you definitely could not tell you what the BTU content of a gallon of gasoline is. The physics of battery electric vehicles versus fossil cars is that EVs are inherently more energy efficient, up to 4 times more energy efficient. EVs typically have energy efficiency ratings of at least around 90%, and gasoline engines, which are heat engines, usually can only muster around 20 to 25%. Many electric cars can get over 100 miles per gallon equivalent easily. And so a 32.777 kilowatt hour battery pack equals 1 gallon of gas, and so multiples of that equal 2 and 3 gallons of gas, as you can see here. So a 98 kilowatt hour battery pack would be a large one for an electric car, and it's only equivalent to 3 gallons of gas. And yet with this kind of battery pack, you could easily go over 400 miles. The physics of electric drive just make more sense than internal combustion engines. This is a Kona EV, which is due to come out this fall. I'm interested in buying one in a couple years. Who knows what the market will be like in a couple years. But I was interested in this vehicle for my slide presentation simply because they make a gasoline version of this vehicle. And so you can do a head-to-head comparison. So the gasoline version, for example, only gets 32 miles per gallon on the highway. And here's your curb weights. So the electric version is just slightly heavier, a couple 100 pounds heavier. And the horsepower, the electric version has more horsepower than the gasoline versions. And of course the electric version doesn't have a transmission either. The fossil version of this vehicle has a 13.2 gallon gas tank with 400 mile range with a 1.4 million BTUs of energy content in it. However, the electric version has a 64 kilowatt hour battery pack with a 250 mile range. This battery is equal to 1.952 gallons gas tank, or 218,000 BTUs. The gasoline version could only go 62 miles on this amount of energy. In other words, a 201 horsepower EV version is nearly 4 times more energy efficient. The Obama CAFE standards were in the news recently because the Trump administration has been working on rolling them back. And so I wanted to post this. They were saying if by 2025 we could have 54.5 mile per gallon vehicles on the highway, consumers would save $1.7 trillion. The average family would save over $8,000 on fuel cost. Compared to a similar vehicle in 2010, it would save 12 billion barrels of oil and eliminate 6 billion metric tons of carbon pollution. However, lost savings from abandoning CAFE standards? Maybe not. Most new BEVs on sale now are projected to come on sale in the next few years will routinely get over 100 miles per gallon. Savings to the consumer would be even greater by a factor of 2 or 3 depending on how you calculate it. If I bought a Kona EV, it would cost me $25 a month to charge it at 8 cents a kilowatt hour for solar grid type power per 1,000 miles versus $81 a month at current gas prices for the gasoline version of that vehicle. At 12 cents a kilowatt hour, the residential rate in southern New Mexico, the Kona would cost me $37 a month per 1,000 miles. So you can see the savings just from operating alone are great. This is an obscure one for most people. Brake-specific fuel consumption per horsepower hour for ICE versus BEVs. Fossil cars average around 0.45 pounds of fuel per horsepower hour, and EVs average around 0.15 pounds of fuel equivalent per horsepower hour. This is why even lower energy density battery packs can still give EV ranges over 200 miles. And since the cost per kilowatt hour of battery capacity has dropped to around $200 today, their affordability has put even greater range within reason price-wise. Price parity should occur at around $125 per kilowatt hour of battery capacity in the next 5 years. This is our Ford C-Max Energi, which is a PHEV and with a 20 miles of electric range only. It's my wife Lana. And there's our 5.1 kilowatt solar panel array behind it, which we charge the car in the daytime. Even this small of a battery pack can dramatically increase efficiency. Although we live more than 20 miles from town, EV only range of just 20 miles allows us to do 1/2 to 2/3 of our driving in EV mode. We average from 85 miles per gallon E on the highway to 95 miles per gallon E in the city in EV mode only. And with a 14-gallon onboard gas tank, we have over 500 miles of range for traveling, plus opportunity charging at our destinations. Let's see here. Well-to-wheel carbon emissions. EVs run off of coal-fired electricity, mine-to-wheel emissions, 40 grams per kilometer. Gas only, 120 grams per kilometer. But if you include the well-to-wheel emissions from getting fossil fuels out of the ground, transporting them, refining them, transporting them, and so forth, it's 450 grams per kilometer. And I translated that into miles to help some of you out here. It's 64 grams per mile for EVs, 192 grams per mile for internal combustion engines, and 720 grams per mile well-to-wheel efficiency for internal combustion engines. So you can see it's greater emissions from fossil fuels by a factor of 10. Even if their EVs are coal-fired, they use coal-fired electricity too, and they don't have to. EVs are agnostic, we like to say. They don't care what kind of electricity you put in them. It could be renewables, which are carbon-free. This is a drawing of a 0.13 coefficient of drag auto body shape, which could improve the efficiency of all vehicles by about 30% on the highway. Now, you wouldn't drive around town with this shape. This line right back here, where the boat tail is, you would this aft section would be deployable. So at speeds greater than 50 miles per hour once you got on the interstates or whatever, this would actually be mechanically, hydraulically, or air deployed, or however that would work. But in town, you would only drive around with the truncated shape of the vehicle, which would end back here. And right here's a tail light, as you can see. So aerodynamics not yet exploited. I'm going to have to stop it here, and we're going to have to pick it up. But the Kona, for example, with 250 mile range, with this aerodynamic shape, would have a 325 mile range. So this is a 30% improvement in fuel mileage for any kind of vehicle, doesn't matter what. So here we are, we're going to stop.